The starship Odyssey drifted through the quiet emptiness of deep space, a silver streak cutting across the black velvet of the Vega cluster. Commander Elias Novak leaned in his chair, watching the navigation screens with a practiced eye. His crew, a group of skilled humans and one AI assistant named Lumi, busied themselves with routine checks and star mapping. It was another long, uneventful shift until the anomaly appeared. "Commander, sensors are picking up something unusual," said Lieutenant Mara Jin, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. She tapped at the console, bringing a small blip into focus. Elias leaned closer. The object appeared as a sleek, metallic silhouette against the scattered starlight. It wasn't any known human ship, nor did it resemble the designs of the alien civilizations catalogued by the United Earth Coalition. It hovered, silent, like a ghost adrift in the void. "Size and mass indicate a full starship," Elias said, narrowing his eyes. "But no signature of life, no propulsion. It's just floating." Lumi's voice came from the speakers, calm and measured. "Scans indicate a containment field around the vessel. Standard sensors cannot penetrate fully. Energy readings are minimal but stable. The hull shows no signs of damage from cosmic debris or radiation exposure." "Bring us closer," Elias ordered. The Odyssey's engines hummed as it adjusted its trajectory. The closer they got, the more unusual the vessel became. Its hull shimmered slightly, reflecting starlight in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. As the crew gathered near the observation deck, Mara whispered, "It's beautiful. Like it's alive." Elias frowned. "Don't get sentimental, Lieutenant. Let's find out if it's dangerous first." A boarding team suited up, their movements precise and practiced. Elias, Mara, and two engineers, Rico and Talia, entered the airlock. The vacuum of space was a silent companion as they floated toward the unknown ship, magnetic boots clicking softly against the hull. The airlock of the drifting ship slid open silently, welcoming, or perhaps inviting, the humans aboard. Inside, the corridors were pristine, almost sterile, with a soft, ambient glow illuminating smooth walls and a floor that seemed to absorb light. There were no signs of life, no air disturbances, nothing to indicate recent activity. "Clear," Rico whispered. "No motion, no life signs. But the air is breathable." They moved cautiously to the bridge, where an enormous console dominated the room. Its panels pulsed faintly, almost as if waiting for their touch. Elias approached, careful but curious. Lumi's voice cut through the silence. "Commander, I am detecting a central memory core. Preliminary scans suggest it contains logs, encrypted, time-stamped. Some entries appear to originate decades in the future." "Future logs?" Mara repeated, her eyes widening. "Are you saying this ship is from the future?" Elias didn't answer immediately. He was cautious. "We don't know yet, Lieutenant. Let's not jump to conclusions, but we need to access those logs carefully. This could be the most important discovery humanity has ever made." The engineers connected the Odyssey's interface to the core. Lumi began the decryption process. The memory hummed, responding almost instantly as if it recognized the human touch. The first log appeared, dated 30 years ahead of the current year. Elias read aloud. "An unknown anomaly approaches a human vessel in Vega cluster. Actions taken to investigate will determine survival of the crew. Do not deviate from procedure." Rico frowned. That's our sector. That's our ship. This log predicts us." Elias' jaw tightened. "No, it can't predict specifics. It's probably a coincidence." But when they continued reading, the predictions became increasingly accurate. The log described the very corridors they walked, the exact number of crew, even the positions of their instruments. Every detail matched perfectly. Mara's voice shook. "It knows us. It knows everything here." "Commander, what if this isn't a coincidence?" Elias took a deep breath. He had been trained for danger, for unknown threats in deep space. But nothing had prepared him for this. The possibility that the future had already written itself and humanity was being guided or watched. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the ship. The lights flickered and a low hum resonated in the air. Rico stepped back, hand on his sidearm. "Something's happening," Talia said. "The ship, it's responding to us." The memory core pulsed brighter and a holographic projection materialized above it. It was not human nor fully alien. Its form shifted constantly, like liquid light trying to imitate structure. The projection's voice was clear, deep, and unerringly calm. "Greetings, travelers. You have accessed the future. Proceed with caution. The choices you make now will shape what is to come." Elias swallowed hard. "Who or what are you?" The projection shimmered. "I am the keeper of records. I document possible futures of humanity. My purpose is not to control, but to guide. Knowledge alone is dangerous. Wisdom is required to use it responsibly." Mara's hands trembled slightly. "Guide? Are you saying we should follow these predictions?" "Follow? No. Observe, consider, and decide. You retain free will. Every action you take alters outcomes. The logs you access are possibilities, not certainties." Elias stared at the projection. The implications were staggering. This ship, drifting alone in uncharted space, contained information that could change the course of human history. The temptation to act on it, to prevent disasters, to gain advantage over rivals, was enormous. "First entry completed," Lumi said. "Next log contains information regarding an encounter with a hostile alien species." Elias hesitated. "Are we ready for that?" Mara nodded. "We have to know. This could save lives, or it could put us at risk." As they read, the log described a scenario involving a warlike alien species, their weapons and tactics. It even suggested maneuvers that could allow the humans to survive a deadly encounter. But it also warned of moral consequences. Innocent lives would be at risk if the instructions were followed. Elias closed his eyes briefly. "It's tempting," he said. "But we need to decide as humans, not just follow instructions from the future. That's what makes us human." The crew paused, contemplating the weight of the information. Each person felt the pull of destiny and the heavy responsibility that came with foresight. They were at a crossroads, between using the knowledge to gain power or using it wisely to protect and preserve. Then a new alert flashed on the console. Sensors had detected a rapid energy fluctuation outside. The ship trembled slightly. "Commander," Talia said, her voice tense. "Something's approaching. I don't know what it is, but it's fast. Too fast for normal sensors to track." Elias turned to the viewport. A streak of light appeared, growing larger, brighter, moving with unnatural precision. The drifting ship seemed to react to it. Its lights pulsed faster, and the corridors around them vibrated. "Stay calm," Elias commanded. "We don't know what it wants. But we need to maintain control." Mara's eyes widened as she realized the truth. The ship was not entirely inert. It had its own intelligence, subtle but undeniable. It was alive in a way humans had never seen before. The energy streak passed them closely, leaving a trail of shimmering particles that clung to the drifting ship like a veil. The memory core's holographic projection pulsed in rhythm with the event, its voice now urgent. "The anomaly you encounter is a test. Observe, act, survive. Your decisions define the timeline." Elias felt a chill. He had faced many challenges in space: asteroid fields, radiation storms, hostile aliens, but never a test of fate itself. Yet in that moment, he realized something vital. The drifting ship, the future logs, even this strange anomaly were not just threats. They were opportunities, opportunities to prove that humanity could face the unknown with courage, ethics, and ingenuity. As the anomaly disappeared, leaving only faint traces in the dark void, Elias turned to his crew. "We don't fully understand this ship yet. We don't know the limits of these logs, but one thing is clear: we have been given a gift, knowledge of possible futures, and with that comes responsibility. We decide how to use it." Mara nodded, determination in her eyes. "We won't fail. Humanity doesn't fail when it matters most." Rico smirked faintly, breaking the tension. "I hope that's true, because if this ship is as advanced as it looks, it won't give us a second chance." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Then we make the first move count." The crew returned to the bridge, their minds racing with possibilities, their hearts steady with purpose. Outside, the drifting ship continued its silent vigil in the void, holding secrets of the future that would challenge humanity in ways they had never imagined. And inside, the Odyssey's crew prepared to explore those secrets, not as passive observers, but as active participants in the unfolding story of their species. The first day aboard the drifting ship ended with a mixture of awe and unease. Yet in the faces of the crew, Elias saw resolve. No matter what the future held, humans would face it with courage, compassion, and intelligence. That was their strength. That was what made them human. And in the silent corridors of the drifting ship, perhaps for the first time, the keeper of records acknowledged it too. The next morning aboard the drifting ship began quietly, but tension hung in the air like a heavy fog. Commander Elias Novak sat at the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed the vessel's memory core pulsating softly. The crew moved around him, alert, yet careful, still trying to process the events from the previous day. Each person understood that the ship held knowledge far beyond human technology, but no one fully trusted it. Lieutenant Mara Jin hovered near the console, her fingers tracing the smooth surface. "Commander, the next log is ready. Lumi has decrypted most of it, but some sections remain scrambled. The predictions, they're more detailed than before." Elias nodded. "Let's proceed. Carefully. I don't want anyone making decisions based solely on the logs. We observe first, then act." The engineers, Rico and Talia, worked quickly to stabilize the interface. The holographic display shimmered, showing lines of text and shifting diagrams. It described an encounter with a hostile alien species known in the logs as the Zithera, a race famed for its precision and deadly tactics. The logs gave detailed strategies for avoiding traps, surviving ambushes, and neutralizing threats, but each solution carried moral consequences. Innocent colonies could be endangered if these strategies were used. Mara's eyes widened as she read. "Commander, this log doesn't just predict events. It's telling us what could happen if we act in certain ways. It's forcing us to make choices we've never faced before." Elias rubbed his temples. "Knowledge of the future is not a substitute for judgment. The log offers options, not orders. We will not blindly follow it. Humanity survives by thinking, not by obeying instructions." Rico's voice was cautious. "But Commander, if we don't follow it, we risk losing lives. Maybe the log is right. Maybe it's giving us a chance to avoid disaster." Elias shook his head. "And maybe it's a trap. Either way, we act as humans, not puppets. Our strength is not in perfect prediction. It's in courage, ingenuity, and conscience." Despite his words, the crew couldn't ignore the pull of the logs. Later that day, a decision had to be made. A small asteroid storm was detected on a course toward the Odyssey. Sensors indicated that navigating through it without damage would be extremely difficult. The log offered a solution, a precise maneuver that would protect the ship but required abandoning the nearby human mining station in the path of danger. Following it would save the crew but put civilians at risk. Mara's hands trembled as she presented the data. If we follow the log's instructions, the Odyssey will be safe. But the miners, they won't survive. Elias considered the scenario. His heart ached for the people on the station, but he also knew the value of the lives aboard his ship. We cannot act without weighing every consequence. This is what makes us human. We do not sacrifice the innocent without reason. There must be another way. Talia leaned forward, voice firm. We can use the ship's technology to help. Perhaps we can combine human judgment with the systems here. It won't be perfect, but it may save everyone. Elias nodded. Then we try. Everyone, stay focused. This is the moment humanity proves its strength, not through predestination, but through action guided by ethics and courage. The crew worked tirelessly. Using the drifting ship's advanced navigation controls, combined with their own calculations, they adjusted shields and plotted a path through the asteroid storm. It was dangerous work. Debris struck the hull, sensors flickered, and alarms blared as rocks tore past. But humans excelled where machines alone could fail: improvisation, intuition, and teamwork. Hours passed. Finally, they emerged on the other side, battered but intact. Communications confirmed the mining station had been evacuated thanks to quick thinking from the crew, and only minor damage was sustained. The log's path would have saved the Odyssey, but the crew's human-led solution had saved everyone. Mara exhaled, wiping sweat from her forehead. We did it. All of us. Elias allowed himself a rare smile. Not the log, Mara. Humanity did it. Remember that. Technology is only a tool. People decide how to use it. That evening, as the crew rested, Lumi projected a new log. This one was different. Less about strategy, more about personal events. It mentioned one of the crew members, specifically Rico, and predicted a choice he would make in the coming days that could cost many lives. The room grew silent. Rico's eyes darted to the hologram. Why me? Why am I the one mentioned? The Keeper of Records' voice filled the chamber. Each person contributes to the timeline differently. Your actions are pivotal, Rico. Choices you make will ripple across years, affecting both humanity and those beyond. Rico's jaw tightened. But how can I know if I'm making the right choice? I don't even know what's coming. Elias placed a hand on his shoulder. You do what humans have always done. You act with courage, with ethics, with intelligence. That is enough. That is all anyone can do. The next day brought new challenges. Sensors detected an unidentified vessel approaching from deep space. It was unlike the drifting ship they had discovered, darker and more aggressive in appearance. Its path suggested no immediate threat, but the crew couldn't ignore it. Could this be the Zythera? Mara asked, recalling the previous log. Elias shook his head. We don't know. We won't assume hostility. Prepare defenses, but we approach carefully. Observation first, reaction second. As the Odyssey moved to intercept, the vessel responded, opening a panel of lights and signals that seemed almost like communication. Lumi analyzed the patterns. The signals are not standard language. They appear mathematical in nature, but with a repeating pattern, perhaps a form of contact attempt. Elias leaned forward. Then we respond. Slowly. We do not provoke. Humanity survives by understanding, not by aggression. The crew transmitted a simple return pattern, mirroring the signals in the most basic form. After a tense hour, the vessel's lights pulsed in a different rhythm, retreating slightly. No attack occurred. It vanished into the darkness. Mara exhaled in relief. It worked. We didn't have to fight. Elias nodded, pride evident in his voice. This is what the logs cannot teach. Strategy alone is not enough. Ethics, understanding, and patience are just as important. Humans thrive where others fail because we value life and choice. As night fell aboard the drifting ship, the crew gathered in the common area, exhausted but united. The logs were becoming increasingly difficult to interpret, blending predictions of cosmic events, alien encounters, and human moral dilemmas. Some entries were clear, others cryptic, suggesting multiple possible futures. Lumi's voice broke the silence. "Commander, the memory core is producing new entries faster than I can process. Some logs show events that contradict previous predictions. Probability calculations indicate the timeline is diverging based on current decisions." Elias frowned. "Then the future isn't fixed. Every choice we make changes what comes next. That is a powerful realization. And it proves what I've been saying all along. Humanity's strength is choice, not destiny." Rico glanced at the console, tension etched on his face. "But the logs, they're tempting. Every decision feels like it's a test. What if we fail? What if we make the wrong choice and thousands die?" Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we learn, Rico. We act with our best judgment, and we protect as many as we can. Fear of failure cannot paralyze us." The next log revealed a scenario involving first contact with another human colony, one that had been isolated for decades. The log predicted that the colony's leadership would make a decision that could lead to internal conflict, or even civil war. The crew realized they had an opportunity to intervene, to guide events without forcing them, and perhaps prevent unnecessary suffering. Elias gathered the team. "This is what the logs are teaching us indirectly. We are not puppets. We are participants, and the right choice is never dictated by certainty. It is dictated by courage, compassion, and intelligence." Hours turned into days. The crew grew more confident in their abilities, using the logs as reference but not as rules. They innovated solutions, combining advanced alien technology with human creativity. Minor crises became lessons in improvisation. Human adaptability proved superior to even the most precise predictions of the memory core. Then, one evening, a sudden alarm jolted the Odyssey. Lumi's voice rang out. "Commander, I detect a rapid energy surge approaching the ship. Impact projected within minutes." Elias rushed to the bridge, followed by the crew. Outside, a brilliant streak of light hurtled through space. Aimed at the drifting ship, the memory core hummed frantically, displaying a new log. "Unknown cosmic anomaly approaches. Standard protocols insufficient. Survival depends on creativity and courage." Elias's mind raced. "Prepare shields. Divert power. But don't panic. This is our moment to prove what humans can do." The crew worked feverishly, improvising with systems they barely understood. They combined shielding technology from the drifting ship with their own maneuvers, adjusting angles and thrust in ways no log had suggested. The anomaly struck with violent energy, but the Odyssey held, bouncing the force away without major damage. Mara exhaled sharply. "We did it. Not because the logs told us to, but because we acted human." Elias looked around at his crew, pride swelling in his chest. "Remember this moment. Knowledge is powerful, but it is humanity, our courage, ethics, and ingenuity that shapes the future. That is why we endure. That is why we survive." As the anomaly dissipated into the void, the drifting ship remained calm, its memory core pulsating softly. The logs were growing more complex, more intertwined with human decisions. Yet for the first time, the crew understood the true lesson. The future was not a path set in stone, but a challenge to be met with humanity at its finest. And so, aboard the drifting ship, the crew of the Odyssey prepared for the coming days, ready to face the unknown with hearts steady and minds sharp, knowing that whatever the logs predicted, humanity would meet it with courage, creativity, and choice. The drifting ship seemed almost alive now, responding subtly to every action the crew of the Odyssey took. Its memory core hummed with a rhythm that matched the pulse of their own nerves. Each day brought new logs, and each log brought a new challenge, moral dilemmas, strategic problems, and glimpses into futures that might never exist. The crew had begun to understand one truth. Knowledge alone was not enough. They had to act. Yet despite their growing confidence, tension was mounting. Rico sat in the observation lounge, staring at the stars beyond the reinforced glass. His hands were clenched, his mind replaying the log that had singled him out, the one that predicted a choice he would make that could cost lives. The weight of it pressed down on him like gravity. Mara joined him quietly, sensing his unrest. "Rico," she said softly, "you can't carry the future on your shoulders alone. The logs don't dictate your life. You decide what to do, every step of the way." He shook his head, frustration evident. "But what if I choose wrong? What if my decision ruins everything?" Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we fix it. Humans are not perfect, Rico, but we adapt. We survive because we learn, because we act with courage. That's why we're here. That's what makes us human." He nodded slowly, but the unease remained. Each member of the crew felt it. The logs were no longer simple guides. They were tests. Tests not of knowledge, but of morality, resilience, and ingenuity. Later that day, the next log arrived, more ominous than before. It described a scenario where the Odyssey would encounter a massive, ancient alien vessel, a relic of a civilization long extinct. The log predicted that the vessel's interior would contain dangerous automated systems, weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. The log also suggested that valuable knowledge would be found inside, secrets of faster-than-light travel, advanced energy manipulation, and artificial intelligence far beyond humanity's current understanding. Elias studied the log carefully. This is the kind of decision that defines a civilization. Do we risk lives for knowledge, or do we retreat? Talia, ever the engineer, leaned forward eagerly. "If we can disable the system safely, we could learn things that would change human technology for centuries. But the risk, it's enormous. One mistake, and we're dead." Mara added, "The log is tempting, but it's not reality. We decide how to approach it. Technology alone won't save us. Our judgment and creativity will." Elias nodded. "We proceed carefully, observation first. We plan, we test, and we act with caution. The lives of this crew and the knowledge of the future are both in our hands." The crew prepared for docking with the alien vessel, which floated silently in the void, dark and foreboding. Its hull was etched with patterns that glowed faintly, almost like a language, but incomprehensible. Magnetic stabilizers attached the Odyssey to the ancient ship, and the boarding team moved cautiously inside. The corridors were vast, echoing with a hollow hum. Automated defense systems were still operational, and the crew had to disable them one by one. Using a combination of human ingenuity and the drifting ship's advanced tools, they bypassed security measures that no log could have fully prepared them for. Rico's hands trembled as he approached a control panel that seemed to respond to thought alone. The log had suggested a sequence to deactivate it, but he hesitated. "It doesn't feel right," he whispered. "I think we need another way." Elias put a hand on his shoulder. "Trust your instincts. The log is a guide, not a command. If your judgment tells you something different, follow it." Rico nodded and improvised, rerouting power manually instead of following the pre-programmed instructions. The system deactivated safely, proving that human creativity could surpass the precision of any prediction. As they moved deeper into the vessel, they discovered a chamber filled with alien artifacts and glowing devices, including a terminal that seemed to hold a vast archive of knowledge. Lumi interfaced with the terminal, translating the data in real time. The crew learned of technologies that could revolutionize energy, medicine, and space travel. But one warning flashed repeatedly on the interface. Improper use of this knowledge could lead to catastrophic consequences. Elias studied the warning carefully. We take only what we can understand and control. Anything else is too dangerous. Knowledge without wisdom is a weapon, not a gift. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Automated defense systems had reactivated in a different sector of the vessel. Lights flashed red as laser turrets aimed toward the boarding team. "Move!" Elias shouted. The crew scattered, using cover and improvisation to evade the deadly systems. Rico led the charge, using his understanding of the vessel's layout to disable the turrets one by one. Mara and Talia worked together to stabilize the environmental controls, preventing the ship from triggering lockdown protocols that could trap them inside. The battle was tense, but the crew prevailed, proving once again that human judgment, flexibility, and courage could overcome obstacles that no log could fully predict. After the immediate danger passed, the crew gathered in the artifact chamber. Rico wiped sweat from his brow. We made it. Not because the log told us to, but because we thought, adapted, and worked together. Elias smiled, proud but exhausted. Exactly. The logs offer possibilities, but humans create reality. That's why we endure. That's why we survive. The next day, the memory core produced a different kind of log, one that was less about strategy and more about personal choice. It highlighted moral dilemmas, relationships, and ethical decisions. One entry suggested that a conflict would arise between crew members over the handling of alien knowledge. It hinted that a choice could lead to betrayal, mistrust, or even loss of life if handled poorly. Mara looked at Elias. The logs are testing not just our actions, but our character. They show the consequences of how we treat each other, not just the universe around us. Elias nodded. That's the hardest part. Technology can guide, predictions can warn, but morality, that comes from within. We protect each other because it's right, not because a log tells us to. Tensions flared later that day. Some crew members wanted to push the boundaries of the alien technology, testing every device and unlocking secrets without fully understanding them. Others, led by Elias and Mara, urged caution, fearing the consequences of misuse. Arguments erupted, and the crew found themselves divided. Rico spoke passionately. We can't ignore this knowledge. It could save millions in the future, Talia countered, and it could destroy millions if we make a mistake. We're humans, not gods. We can't handle everything at once. Elias intervened. Listen to me. This is not about fear or ambition. It's about responsibility. We do what we can understand and control. That's how we survive, and that's how humanity thrives. Slowly, the crew reached a compromise. They would study the alien knowledge cautiously, documenting everything and testing only what they fully comprehended. Patience, ethics, and teamwork became their guiding principles. The memory core responded to their choice, producing a new set of logs that reflected the changes in their timeline. It was clear that the crew's decisions had already altered the potential futures, showing that human agency mattered more than prediction. Days passed, and the crew grew more confident in their ability to navigate uncertainty. They learned to combine the drifting ship's advanced technology with human ingenuity, improvisation, and ethical reasoning. Every log became a tool, not a command. Every challenge became an opportunity to prove that humans could shape the future responsibly. Then, without warning, a new anomaly appeared on the sensors. A massive cosmic storm, unlike anything recorded before, surged toward the sector. Its energy readings were off the charts, threatening to engulf the Odyssey and the drifting ship. Elias gathered the crew. This is it. The logs can't help us now. We face it with what we know, what we can do, and how we think. This is human ingenuity in action. The crew scrambled. Shields were reinforced, engines pushed to maximum, and the drifting ship's navigation systems were integrated with the Odyssey's controls. They plotted a course through the storm that was daring, unpredictable, and entirely human. Lightning-like energy streaked across the void, impacting the ships with tremendous force. Systems overloaded, alarms blared, and the hull groaned under pressure. Yet the crew held together, improvising solutions as problems arose. Rico rerouted power manually to stabilize shields. Talia adjusted energy dispersal to prevent core overload, and Mara guided the navigation, using intuition where calculations failed. Elias coordinated every action, his voice calm and commanding despite the chaos. For hours, they battled the storm, every second a test of skill, courage, and unity. And then, finally, they emerged on the other side, battered but alive. The storm had passed, leaving only the silent expanse of space around them. The crew exhaled collectively, exhaustion and relief washing over them. Elias looked at each member, pride evident in his gaze. We faced the impossible, and we survived, not because a log predicted it, but because we acted as humans. Courage, ethics, ingenuity. That is why we endure. The memory core pulsed softly, acknowledging their triumph. For the first time, the logs no longer felt like warnings. They were records of possibility, now shaped by human choice. The crew realized that while knowledge of the future was valuable, it was their decisions, their morality, and their creativity that truly mattered. And so, aboard the drifting ship, the crew of the Odyssey continued their journey. They had faced moral dilemmas, life-threatening dangers, and cosmic anomalies. They had resisted the temptation to rely blindly on prediction. They had acted with courage, ethics, and ingenuity. Humanity had once again proven that it could endure, adapt, and thrive, even in the face of the unknown. The drifting ship hummed quietly around them, its memory core filled with possibilities, but now shaped by the choices of the humans it had observed. For the first time, it seemed almost at peace. The crew knew that more challenges awaited. Future logs promised further tests, moral dilemmas, and cosmic threats, but they also knew the truth. Whatever the future held, humans would meet it with courage, intelligence, and compassion. And that truth, they realized, was the greatest power of all. The drifting ship floated silently in the black expanse of space, its smooth hull reflecting distant starlight. Inside, the crew of the Odyssey moved with purpose. The last storms, moral dilemmas, and alien encounters had tempered them. They were no longer just explorers, they were decision-makers, human beings shaping their own future. Yet the logs continued to hum, growing more frequent, more complex, and more urgent. One morning, Lumi spoke with unusual clarity. "Commander, the memory core is producing a log of unprecedented significance. Its predictions involve multiple possible futures simultaneously. One pathway indicates a catastrophic event capable of destroying entire star systems, including the sector we currently occupy." Elias's eyes narrowed. "A cosmic threat? How immediate is it?" "Projected within 72 hours, Lumi replied. "Nature and origin unknown. Conventional navigation and defense strategies appear insufficient." Mara stepped forward, concern on her face. "Commander, this could be the ultimate test. The logs have guided us carefully, but now we face something unpredictable. Can we survive?" Elias's gaze was steady. "We will survive. Not because the logs predict it, but because we are human. Courage, ethics, and ingenuity. That is our greatest weapon." The crew quickly assembled in the bridge, analyzing the data. The anomaly was massive, a swirling maelstrom of energy, matter, and radiation, unlike anything recorded in human history. Sensors indicated that its trajectory was unstable, and it appeared to respond to nearby gravitational forces, including the presence of ships. "This is no natural storm," Rico said, voice tight. "It's intelligent, or at least behaves as if it is." Elias studied the readings. "Then we treat it carefully. Observation first, interaction second. Humanity thrives not because we fight blindly, but because we understand before acting." Preparations began immediately. Shields were reinforced, engines calibrated for rapid maneuvering, and the drifting ship's advanced navigation systems were integrated into the Odyssey. The crew trained tirelessly, running simulations and contingency plans. Yet each member knew that simulations could only do so much. This was reality, raw, unpredictable, and alive. As the anomaly approached, strange energy pulses rippled through both vessels. Lights flickered, gravity fluctuated, and the very fabric of space seemed to stretch and warp. Mara's voice trembled slightly over the comms. "Commander, it's affecting the hull. Some readings are off the charts." Elias remained calm. "Focus on what we can control. Keep the crew safe and the ship operational. Adapt as needed. That's all any human can do." The first wave of the anomaly struck. Energy cascaded across the ships like a lightning storm, tearing at shields and systems. Alarms blared. Crew members scrambled, each improvising as systems failed. Rico manually rerouted power to critical components, while Talia adjusted the navigation arrays to compensate for gravitational distortions. Mara guided the engines through the storm, predicting the anomaly's unpredictable movements, using intuition and observation rather than raw calculation. Hours passed in chaos. Every second was a test of skill, teamwork, and resilience. The anomaly seemed almost conscious, probing the ships, testing the crew's decisions, reacting to every maneuver. Lumi's voice broke the tension. "Commander, the memory core indicates that following a predetermined sequence would result in failure. The logs are no longer reliable for prediction." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we act as humans. We rely on our minds, our instincts, our morality, and our courage. That is what the logs cannot give us." The anomaly intensified. Its core pulsated with a blinding white light, threatening to engulf both ships. Sensors failed intermittently, making navigation nearly impossible. The crew worked in perfect synchronization, improvising constantly, using every ounce of knowledge and ingenuity available to them. Suddenly, a massive energy surge struck the drifting ship, sending it spinning violently. Elias shouted, "Stabilize the hull! Rico, divert power to the primary stabilizers!" Rico's hands moved with precision, overriding automated systems, rerouting energy where the logs had suggested no pathway existed. Sparks flew, but the ship stabilized. Mara shouted from the helm, "I see an opening! If we adjust the angle slightly, we might slip past the core." Elias weighed the risk. It was dangerous. Slightly miscalculating would be fatal. "Do it," he ordered. "Trust your judgment. Human intuition is stronger than prediction." The maneuver worked. Both ships slipped past the most violent core of the anomaly, battered but intact. The energy pulses weakened behind them, dissipating into the void. For a long moment, the crew simply stared, catching their breath, amazed that they had survived. Then the drifting ship's memory core pulsed softly, projecting a hologram unlike any before. The Keeper of Records appeared, its form calm and radiant. "You have passed the ultimate test," it said. "The anomaly was designed not to destroy, but to measure, to observe whether humanity could navigate chaos using intellect, morality, and courage. Logs alone are not sufficient. Humans must act with wisdom." Elias stepped forward. "We survived because we worked together, because we thought, judged, and acted, not because of predictions, but because of human choice." The Keeper's form shimmered. "Precisely. The future is not a sequence of events waiting to happen. It is shaped by decisions, by ethics, by ingenuity. You have proven that humanity can rise above mere prediction and guide its own destiny." Mara spoke softly. "Then the logs. They were never instructions. They were lessons, tests, opportunities to see ourselves clearly." The keeper nodded. "Yes, knowledge without action is hollow. Technology without judgment is dangerous. The true strength of humanity lies not in what you know, but in how you use it, in courage, ethics, and cooperation." The crew exhaled collectively, a mixture of relief and pride washing over them. They had faced a cosmic threat unlike anything recorded in human history and had survived not through chance, not through logs, but through human skill, ingenuity, and morality. For the next several days, the Odyssey and the drifting ship remained in the sector, recovering from the ordeal. The crew repaired systems, stabilized energy cores, and cataloged the alien knowledge they had salvaged. The logs continued to hum softly, now serving as reference rather than guide. Rico stood near the observation deck, gazing at the stars. "We've seen things no human has ever seen. We faced death, moral dilemmas, and the unknown. And we survived." Mara joined him. "Not because the future was written, but because we acted as humans. We adapted. We chose. That is what matters." Elias entered, placing a hand on Rico's shoulder. "Remember this. Every decision you make shapes not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. The universe may test you, but courage, ethics, and ingenuity will always guide you to survival." The drifting ship pulsed faintly, its memory core now filled with the record of human decisions, not just predictions. It had observed and recorded humanity's greatest traits: cooperation, morality, courage, and ingenuity. In a sense, the ship itself had learned what humans were capable of. Weeks passed. The crew explored the ship further, integrating its technology with their own knowledge. They developed new propulsion methods, advanced shields, and improved navigation systems. Yet they always remembered the lessons of the anomaly. Knowledge alone could not save them. Only careful action guided by human judgment could. Finally, Elias made a decision. "We bring the drifting ship home. Its knowledge is too valuable to leave in the void, but it must be studied responsibly. Humanity must understand its power, and we must ensure it is used wisely." The crew agreed. As the Odyssey towed the drifting ship, the memory core hummed softly, projecting a final message. "The future is not a path to follow. It is a challenge to meet. Humans have proven themselves capable of shaping it responsibly. Your choices matter more than knowledge. That is the essence of your strength." Mara looked at the message, eyes shining. "We've learned more than any log could teach. Not just about technology or survival or the universe, but about ourselves." Rico nodded. "And we've proven that humanity can face the unknown, make tough choices, and survive. Not because it was predicted, but because we are capable, ethical, and courageous." Elias gazed at the stars, feeling the weight and wonder of their journey. The universe is vast and full of unknowns. There will always be tests, dilemmas, and dangers. But if we face them as we have here, with unity, ethics, and ingenuity, there is nothing we cannot overcome. The drifting ship floated beside the Odyssey, silent and steady, now a symbol of humanity's resilience. It had held knowledge of possible futures, but it had also learned that the greatest force in the universe was human choice. As the two ships set course for the nearest research station, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just explorers. They were guardians of knowledge, stewards of morality, and witnesses to the extraordinary power of human ingenuity. And somewhere in the vast, silent void, the keeper of records hummed softly, recording the tale of humans who had faced the unknown and emerged not just alive, but victorious, because they were, in every sense, human. The Odyssey continued its journey, the drifting ship in tow, both moving forward into a future shaped not by prediction, but by courage, ethics, and the indomitable spirit of humanity.